Welcome, welcome. My name is Aoife and I'm a mind body coach. So I teach women, mostly highly sensitive women, how to heal themselves from chronic pain, chronic illness, anxiety, and depression. And today we have the magical, amazing Jeannie from LA. And Jeannie is a stress and chronic pain coach, and she is going to tell us about her own personal story and how she helps clients. And we're going to share with you tips and tricks for your own healing journey. So, welcome, Jeannie. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me on. I'm really excited. We have a lot in common with our journeys, so it's good. And our outlook and approach to life now is very similar. So I think it'll be fun to dig in. Yeah.
Yeah, I love seeing your workout videos.
I know the irony of this whole thing is I think it's fun to share, but it's also like great motivation. This gym, I don't know if you're familiar, but it's like it's the Mecca. They call it the Mecca. It's the most famous bodybuilding gym in the world, right?
In
And here I
LA.
am, I'm pretty small. Yeah, no, it's like the most famous gym ever. And so here I am, I'm kind of small and that's okay, right? But to be able to work out pain-free and not have that fear, I mean, it's huge. So I'm just proud of what I do lift, what I am able to do. It's really fun to share that journey and trusting my body again to push it like before, not the story. Yeah, a lot of fear before.
I love it. And I love women like feeling strong in your body, whatever that looks like. For I love the gym. I love like getting strong this way, but whatever way that looks like for you. So I'm always like cheering you on.
Oh, thanks. No, I love the support. I love it. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit of your beginning story, the before story. Where were
Yeah.
you before? What kind of state were you in? What were you struggling with? And what were you trying that wasn't working? Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. So even before I started having the real pain, which started at age 26, at age 19, 18, I was getting stress fractures and shin splints and having to see, I mean, I was going to the physical therapist regularly, all in my early 20s. And I worked out, I went to the gym, I was active, but I was not an athlete. I mean, I played tennis in high school. I think might have started a little bit from then, but like severe stress fractures where this doesn't really make sense. Well, now it does at the time. So that just started like a lot of kind of fear and not pushing too hard and like not let's not do too much, but nothing horrible. And then at age 26 is when I started with my first huge pain symptom of having ankle pain, both ankles, which is a clue now, but at the time didn't get it. But I didn't do anything. I didn't have an injury. I didn't fall, nothing. Um, yeah, and it was like this burning pain, this horrible, like deep pain. So that's like really my first flare, my first, pain symptom where I went down the rabbit hole of pain doctors. And I even had a surgery. They call it like a nerve entrapment surgery. I mean, it's like inpatient, right? It's like in his office, but still, I mean, I still have that scar there, right? For nerve entrapments. I mean, nothing, it didn't help at all, obviously, but going to see more and more doctors. And I live in LA, which is wonderful, but there's many, many options. So I did all the things and seeing the going back to physical therapy again and all the doctors, and then feeling a lot of stress about this whole situation because I'm not getting any answers and it's just getting worse and worse. So at age 30, 4 years later, then I got my next big on top of it. It was getting really bad back pain. And again, no injury, nothing happened, but I guess there was stress. There's always a reoccurring theme. So yeah, so at age 30, I'm dealing with back pain and all over, right? Sometimes it's in the top, sometimes it's in the bottom, it's spasming, it's really, really bad. So I'm still dealing with the ankle pain. And that's interesting, my whole story with pain. I would have sometimes months pain-free or months or days that are like really good. And then things would come back, right? So there's always that cycle of disappointment and there was always that cycle of fear. If you can relate, yeah.
I
Sounds
know
like you
it
can.
so well with me with the food and the IBS stuff. Like I would stop eating this and this and this. Oh my God, amazing. Everything's working. And then boom. back worse. And then I would do more restrictions and more fear. Oh, great, it works, it works, it works. Boom, back. And it was just all the while I was just getting into this bigger place of fear and bigger place of control. So
Mm-hmm.
I hear you.
Yeah. And so then that was the first time. Now I'm dealing with insomnia for the first time in my life because I was in so much pain from the back. The ankles fortunately never affected my sleep, but now the back's really, really painful. Can't get comfortable sleeping. And then that whole cycle, which we know insomnia with like the mind body of not being comfortable sleeping, but then having a lot of fear of not sleeping. So now I've got anxiety really bad also because I'm not sleeping. And then there's depression. So it's just this big in my 30s. Yeah, for that whole decade of just fear and pain and insomnia and anxiety and then depression. And then I was getting digestion issues. That only lasted for a few years. But again, getting a scope put down, into my stomach and everything's fine. Have you heard that before? Aoife, like, oh,
Have I
that's
what? Have you met me?
how many times have you been told like that's not normal or you shouldn't have pain or right? So all these mystery, I mean, fortunately the stomach wasn't too long of stuff, but yeah, I mean, I'm seeing doctors about it. So yeah, so that was kind of my life for that decade of having flares, of backs feeling a little bit better, then backs hurting a lot. And when we talk about who we've seen and what didn't help, I mean, holistic healers and every type of alternative. I mean, I live in Los Angeles, which is great. So we have a lot of alternative healers. And I mean, how many chiropractors did I see? I mean, I probably saw like 5, and then sleep doctors, and like the sleep medicine wasn't even working. So it was just, yeah, I mean, I can't even describe all the things that I did. And some things were good temporary or it gave me hope, but I think especially working with healers, it was like putting my faith into them, right? If I couldn't get an appointment or yeah, I wasn't seeing them for a while, like so much fear, right? Because I didn't have any power. It was like putting my power with other people, which is why I love breath work. And I'll share that with you like later. And this whole journey is in our own regaining our power, like you said. So yeah, it was really hard. So seeing all the doctors, all the specialists. And I remember my life being a teacher was working full time. And we didn't work that late. I mean, we finish at like 3 or 3:15 but then most days it's running to different appointments and trying to get answers and different blood work. At the end of my journey, I was seeing naturopaths and functional medicine doctors, and their protocol, it's not covered on insurance, is so intense. I mean, it's, oh my gosh, so many supplements and so much extra stuff. I was getting IV treatments towards the end. Well, you won't know if like 1 or 2 are working. You got to do 8 to 10 to see if this is working. Guess what? 8 to 10 didn't work. So I spent all that money. So it's like this never ending cycle of money and time and frustration. Towards the end of my journey, at the end of like that decade, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which actually really, really helped me mentally, because for so long it was mystery and what's wrong with me. And I felt really happy that I had a diagnosis. But as you know, the diagnosis sucks. And I remember talking to the fibromyalgia expert doctor, telling him about the sleep. And he said, well, you have fibromyalgia. Insomnia is one of the symptoms. Basically, just deal with it. So those were some of the low points. But
I had the
yeah, towards
same.
the end,
Yeah,
yeah.
I had the same experience with the diagnosis because I had been sick since I was a child and I was diagnosed as mystery girl. Um, and like, I'd love to hear from you actually, like some of the hardest things you found about, having these conditions and the search and everything. But for me back then, like I just felt so alone because I didn't know what to tell people. Like I had these mystery every time I went to a doctor or a holistic therapist, they all told me I was a complicated special case, a mystery. Like I felt really fucking weird. And then I had all these weird symptoms. I had no language to explain it to myself, let alone the world around me. So I was just really, really wanted a diagnosis. And then when I was 28, I got this diagnosis of fibromyalgia, and I loved it because I finally had a language to use. And then I moved to Australia, and I could tell everyone, I was like, I have fibromyalgia, it's chronic pain. I could tell people, and I got empathy, and
Yeah.
I did have a more of a language, which in a weird way, like, it did help. But at the end of the day, it brought me down the exact same rabbit
Yeah.
hole and the exact same experience, really. But that's how the sad thing is, that's how desperate, that's how bad things were in my internal and personal world,
Mhm.
that I was like desperate for an awful diagnosis, just so I could,
I understand.
just to take the edge off how painful and excruciating my whole experience of life was at the time. Like, it's
Yeah.
gnarly. So yeah, I would love to hear from you a little bit. Like, I mean, you know, back then, this whole lifestyle you're describing of constant appointments. I mean, I eventually had to stop working, and
Mhm.
um just it impacted every part of my life, like work, money, relationships, my family. Like, it just impacted everything. And that was what was really, really painful for me, because I would look to areas of my life where I would have some kind of aspirations, and they just seem to be I just seem to be hit with a wall of like a dead end, because I was scurrying around or whatever in the appointments and the draining all my finances, and Google searching, Google searching, Google searching, Google searching. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely relate to so much of that. I think the just going back to the diagnosis was validation, because for so long people didn't understand. I didn't understand, and it just validated. I mean, I remember my cousin's wedding I couldn't go to because the thought of standing at line in the airport and having to walk, right? It just brought up so much fear. So I remember that was like definitely a low point. And I remember another low point of, I don't know who I was talking to, some healer or something. I remember it was right after it was right after a chiropractor appointment. I'm in my car, it's raining, and I remember just crying because physical therapy is not helping. And I was going like way over the hill, which is in LA. It's like on the other side of Los Angeles. So I'm in rush hour traffic, like both ways to get to this appointment, right? So I'm coming home depleted. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I think I want to try pain pills. I think I want to, fortunately I didn't, but I just remember that call as just being so profound, of her really like begging me, like, do not get on pain medication. Um, like the narcotics, the opioids, all that kind of stuff. She was like, I mean, I was on gabapentin and some of those more regulated stuff, but yeah, I never went down the whole like really serious with that. But yeah, I mean, even after so how did it affect my life? Yeah, same thing. So I was on medical leave also. I mean, in my summertime, I had 2 months off. So it's like, yay, summertime, right? Usually I'm depleted and just, yeah, burnout, and it's not a fun summer. I was on medical leave 3 times. So the last medical leave, I was dealing with chronic fatigue and burnout. So chronic fatigue was another huge symptom I had to go through. And then I also, at the end of my journey, had chronic sinus infection. So there was just a lot, and things would kind of come and change. But yeah, I think I, like you, love to travel. I lived in Spain in college. And so this idea of travel was obviously deranged because, or derailed, I think that's the better word, derailed, because there was so much fear to travel, right? And obviously when you travel, you're walking, and my ankles hurt. I mean, I would like lie on my couch because I don't want to walk. I just, like, even in my apartment, I don't want to go to the bathroom. I don't want to make food. I lost weight and I'm already small. That was, people would see me like, oh, have you, that happened to you too? Oh, you lost weight. I was not healthy, like under 100 pounds. And, I'm not going to get into my story with a colleague at work, right? But it's heartbreaking. I like literally was getting smaller, Aoife. Like, we're just like shrinking, right? Not
Mm,
feeling powerful, not
mm,
feeling strong, and like literally, like in my case, shrinking. Like, I was not hungry for life. I wasn't hungry. I was stressed out and took way too much effort to go to the grocery store, cook all the time. My parents many times went food shopping for me. This was before like you could get all your groceries delivered. So yeah, quality of life is like super impacted. Dating, I'm not looking good in my opinion, and I'm not feeling strong. And, oh, well, what's wrong? Like, what's going on with your health? Like, I don't know. Well, what do you mean you don't know? I mean, it's quite challenging to navigate, but yet put off this, like, I got this, you know, you don't have to worry about me. I don't want to be a victim. But at the same time, like, I don't got this. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm crying the nights I don't talk to you because it's just like my life. Yeah, it was really hard. I think, you know, part of my story too is being a teacher in the beginning of my career, was super happy and enjoyed it. And then later there was definitely not my passion and feeling really stuck there. So it impacted my career because now I feel stuck in a job that I don't want to be in, right? Here in the States, oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. Europe, right? You guys get health benefits, and like here, everything's on your own if you don't work for a big company or you don't work for a company, right? So leaving that stability of now I have to have health insurance, and why would I leave a stable job when I'm sick? And so much money and time went into this journey. Yeah, there's no time for fun. Like, I remember I was on medical leave and actually had fun. I went to dinner with friends and I felt guilty because here I am on medical leave. I can't have fun. That means that I'm faking or it's a fraud, which obviously it's not. So there was a lot to unpack there. Yeah, quality of life. I mean, we could stories on, but definitely, you know, not wanting to have fun or not able to have fun. I always thought in my brain, like, this all or nothing. Like, if I have back pain, I can't have fun. Or if I'm in a flare, or I can't be happy, or when I'm out of pain, then I can have fun, or then I can travel. There's a lot of that kind of mindset.
Totally. And sometimes I think like, oh, which happened first? Did I stop having fun and then my symptoms got worse, or did my symptoms get worse? There's definitely a correlation because I used to party and do all the festivals, and for sure I was not living a sustainable, healthy lifestyle, but I was having a lot of fun back then in a in like not such a healthy way, but I have that all or nothing, like have that
Yeah.
mindset or habit back then. And I had already had long-term like health conditions since I was a child. I thought, okay, I'm going to take this into my own hands. I'm going to take control of my life, stop partying, stop drinking. But I absolutely stopped having fun, and I went really, really serious healing. You know, I had an idea of what like healing looked like, maybe like living like a monk or whatever. I don't know, but I had no idea that was contributing to the stress, and it spiraled for me. But I would love to ask you, what kind of fears were like running through your mind? So I just,
Mhm.
not only was I scared of the symptoms, but I was terrified of my future. Like even though I'm like healthy and rocking it and doing loads of things, the fear of the future still creeps in here in Ireland. The housing crisis, like sometimes I'm like, oh my God, you know. So I think the fear of the future is real for like everyone in lots of different ways. But when you're like seeing yourself disappear and your
Literally.
ability to literally, you're like, oh my God, if y'all out there who are like killing it at life with your husbands in your houses are worried about the future, like, what about me? So do you have any like big fear that was like particularly going on for you? Or
I think the fear, I mean, I'm sure I have lots and I could think of them. There was one example I'll just go into quickly is when I did talk to one healer, and he basically was change your whole diet, don't eat anything, right? That was fun. So I had all this fear around food. So that like spiked everything. So that was, you know, oh, if I eat a little bit of soy, that's going to spike things, and no eggs and this. So all the food stuff, and then a ton of supplements. Oh, I forgot to take this pill. And there was so much regimen and stuff. So I remember just the fear of not being perfect, right? That was huge. But I think in general, like the underlying fear was, yeah, this is going to be my life. This is my life. That was the fear of never getting better, of always being like a victim and not being able to live the way I wanted to live, being stuck. I was really fearful actually of staying in this job. I was like, I have to get better so I can leave. Um, and ironic, like I left in the middle of a flare and I, you know, I got better. But yeah, I think the biggest fear is not getting better. But then just being so careful with doing anything in life. If I walk too much, or if I have one bad night's sleep, like all of this, so much fear really of everything. And yeah, fear of not doing enough, fear of like, oh, I should see every doctor because like the FOMO, right? Like, what if this is the doctor that can help me? Or what if like this appointment, right? So, and money too, right? I mean, so much money is being pumped out for this, and the fear of like wasting money, which I felt like I had wasted a lot of money in future. And yeah, I mean, it's heartbreaking when so much of your money, you look at your credit card and it's like all this medical expenses, it's not working. I mean, if it actually helped, it would be different, and like trying new things. So yeah, lots of fears, just not trusting my body at all. Yeah.
Dude, I can totally relate. But let's get the good news in. But like
Yeah.
there was a moment where things started to change. And so tell us about that. Was there like a one moment, or was it gradual, or what happened?
Yeah. Yeah. So I had done a lot of coaching during that time, just life coaching, I would say, just to help me. And it was helpful, but we weren't exactly in the TMS mind body space yet. And through a series of, yeah, right kind of steps, I got connected to a mind body coach, which started this new relationship with my body, but she wasn't versed in like TMS and chronic pain. So some of her advice, like, definitely missed the mark, right? Because I was in chronic pain at that time. And she's like, you need to rest, which isn't, what we would say now, but I did learn a lot about like this new relationship with my body and starting to feel emotions and sensations. That was all new to me. So that's kind of what sparked it. And then little by little, yeah, I mean, the first like, holy crap, come to Jesus. And I'm not even, in that world, but yeah, it was Steve Ozanich's book. So that, The Great Pain Deception. So I read that thing cover to cover. I cried. I mean, I heard him on a podcast with my mentor who I work with in business. So I heard this podcast with him on it. And my mentor was talking about back pain, and Steve Ozanich was just talking. I was like, holy crap. Read that book cover to cover. I will not let anyone borrow this book. It's never leaving my house. I mean, it's highlighted and got little, I don't know, what are they called? Like where you put the little papers in there to like bookmark everything. It is amazing. So that eye-opening. And then, yeah, and then actually seeing online like a podcast. I remember Eddie Mind and Fitness podcasts. Who knew there was podcasts out there and information? So yeah, so I started working with a mind body coach, and towards that part, I was mostly dealing with chronic fatigue and the sinus infections. So yeah, I mean, I really was a quick heal. Like I just like got, because I was ready. I mean, I tell people like not to be discouraged, because I know like, oh, I'm a book cure, but not really, because I had done so much work on myself, right? Like coaching, therapy, and then I was already working with the mind body coach. So I just was able to heal really fast because I was open and I'd already done a lot of work, right? I wasn't like in this like I was like 100% in with reading that book. So that was, yeah, the turning point. And then the idea of, leaving my job became even more exciting and possible. So yeah, so I quit my job at age, how old was I? Like 41. I just took the jump. I always tell people it's hard to, as a teacher, because I want to like a regular job, but normal people, right, can leave a job anytime. They're like, I'm going to leave in January. I'm going to leave in March. So for a teacher to be in integrity, right, you leave in the summer. That way they can hire a new teacher. So summer's coming, summer's here. And so I worked with a coach on like next steps and getting over that fear, because it's like fear with one thing. It's not going to be like you're going to have so much fear in one area of your life and not in the other, right? All that fear we were talking about, you felt like that totally came into money and, supporting myself and career and, being single and not having that other person that you can lean on. 6 months is going to be kind of not so great financially because I'm a new coach. So having that support, it's like, oh, I'm doing this all on my own. So yeah, so leaving my job. And when I started, I was doing health coaching, which was awesome. And then I'm realizing, people are working with me for food. Maybe they need to get their food in check or lose weight, or, I had a client, her diabetes markers and some of her high blood pressure And as I'm working with people for health coaching or life coaching, I'm noticing a common thread of stress, right? People are eating not correctly or healthy or clean or whatever you want to say because they've got, emotions they don't want to feel and process, and avoiding they don't want to be bored, like bored eating, or and emotions, right? How many of us eat or drink or anything because of these emotions? So when I saw this common thread, I was like, oh, I'm a stress coach. Like, this is what I don't want to tell people how many carbs to eat. And I don't want to tell you, like, whatever style of eating works for you, great, right? I'm not like the macro coach or, this is how you should eat, vegan or keto, like whatever you want, whatever you can do for the rest of your life or your lifestyle. But the stress, that's what I want to address. Yeah. And then I started doing TMS coaching soon after that. So right now it's primarily definitely TMS coaching and then the stress coaching.
I love it.
That's
And
where
they're
I am
complete,
now. That's
and
like the fast version.
they're completely connected, right? Anyway, because it's like stress, illness.
Totally.
I love that. And for me, after having been told for 30 odd years of my life that I was complicated, special mystery case, when I discovered the connection of stress, like the real connection of stress in the body, and how, like you're describing, like anything that's going on in your life that you're trying to heal or balance out, like hormones or like just anything, you could reduce it down to having a stress problem, really, or subconscious stress or body stress, whatever, right? So for me, that was really my like come to God moment, because I remember someone sent me a link to a pain science. I think it was Alan Gordon or Dr. Schubner or someone. I can't even remember who it was, but they, in the talk, like the 5-minute video, whatever, they basically said to me, all you have is a stress problem. This is all your nervous system, and you just have a stress problem, and that's your nervous system, and you can reverse it. Like basically 3 to 5 minute talk or something. And I honestly, that's the moment my life completely changed forever, because no longer did I have like 17,000 different symptoms with all different medications and acupuncture and supplements, and yet at the same time, even though I was burdened with these symptoms and diagnosis and treatments and appointments, I was still complicated and incurable. And like, it's like the burden you're carrying is just really intense. And there's these very calm, very humble, like scientist, doctor people, and they just cleaned that whole mess up for me in one 3-minute snap video. But I will say, because what you shared resonated so much with me about how much work you had previously done, and I had not thought about that before, but I had already had a 10-year or more Tibetan meditation practice, where we're doing like huge amounts of meditation and deep work and reprogramming and stuff like that. So I hadn't thought about that before, but I think that's also why I was quite a quick heal, because I'd shifted and done like, and so committed, and I'd done a lot of that work. But at the same time, I was super, 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 super ill. But when I got the right information, like, and that's what I also say to a lot of clients that come to me, they've done loads of work. They know all about their traumas and their patterns. And like, they just know, like, they've done so much work, and they're tired and they're exhausted and they're fed up and they're not feeling better. And I'm like, oh, you're so close. Like, honestly, it's not wasted. Like, you've been doing all this work. It's like, cogs in a machine, and it can just take the right bit of information, the nudge, the shift in the mindset, a different tool, like, and like all that work that you've been doing can all start to really have the positive impact, or the results that it has the potential to have. So yeah, but the simpleness, right? for me, simplifying everything. And like I always tell people I'm super lazy. Like I'd be chilling in bed all day if I could, just watching movies. Like I don't, and it was so complicated before. If you met me before, you'd think I was some sort of like doctor or like scientist, because I would tell you all about the different enzymes in my digestion and all the different like proteins and macro proteins and everything in food, and every little joint and bit of my body and bit of my rib and bit of my bladder and bit of this, and like you could probably like tell the whole inside of my body just from talking to you, because I'd tell you everything. And now I just don't have to think like that anymore. I'm just like just
Oh,
make
that's
it
the thing when you
simple.
can. Well, that's the thing. Like, how much space do you I couldn't think about running a new business because I had so much
Information.
mental gunk, right? So just completely to your point. And I think now maybe it helps people to know, like my journey was 16 years. I know yours was a long journey too. So people that come to me, oh, it's been 3 years, 4 years, or whatever the too long story for them, it's like, hopefully we can be a beacon of, doesn't matter how long you've been sick. Like once you know this path, you can really, really heal. So I think that's like super important and like helpful for people. Yeah, but just letting that fear kind of go. It's life changing and really getting excited about having your work, like your life back. And something that I kind of think of too, like sometimes, like I said to you, and I left my job, but now, I mean, I wish obviously I had found this mind body healing TMS sooner, obviously, but I didn't. So that's why you and I are just on this mission to get the word out. But I think sometimes too, well, leaving my job later than I wanted to also, but now that can kind of help me too. I mean, I can't change that either, but that kind of pushes me a bit of like, I don't have time to waste anymore, right? So because I didn't leave when, I don't want to say should, but I had too much fear to leave and I was dealing with so much stuff. And so now, yeah, now I gotta just, this is like, I don't want to say make up for it, but this is where I'm all in, this is my business, right? Those thoughts. So that can be kind of helpful for people. Like, I think Oprah says something like, when you know, what did she say? I can't remember, but something like, once you know, then you do better or something. I didn't know about this life that was possible. And so anyway, and I think also too, it's interesting, like with COVID, right? Because that changed the whole game too. I didn't have international clients before then. I wasn't, doing stuff as much online. Things were more kind of in person. So I think that's interesting that kind of connected us all too in a more virtual way.
Definitely. And I know so many people have that frustration. Like I was shocked when I found the mind body connection and I had that breakthrough. And then I started to look online and I was like, oh my God, this person, like just say Steve Ozanich. I'm like, oh my God, this book. Sure. Dr. Dave Clark's book was written in 1983, like before I was born. I was like, what, guys? Like I lived like all these doctors, like did what? It's like, but then also yeah, I don't get stuck in those loops anymore because I'm just so happy to be free and I'm so happy to be engaging in my life and getting excited about the future. So for sure, but when you're still in a lot of pain and suffering, then that thought can really kind of frustrate you. But yeah, I also have that, like I do have that making up for lost time feeling sometimes, like when as soon as I started to heal, and even though I wasn't feeling great, I was like moving here, traveling there, picking up work, and
I love the traveling. Yeah.
shit was going on. Like I got severe insomnia and I was just so lit up and excited, like for the first time, that I knew, like you probably because of all the work I'd done previously, but I just knew 100% if I kept going, things would just pop and release along the way. But I was chatting to a friend of mine who's also healing with TMS, and we used to Skype each other or Zoom each other, and we would be crying, both of us, like suicidal. And we were video called last weekend and we were both like laughing, and I was telling her I was out until partying until 8 a.m. like over Christmas, and she was like, well girl, you got a lot of like partying, lost time to make up for. Like I hope I hope you are out till 8 a.m. and you got a lot of boys to kiss and all, to make up for. And so I do like that that kind of thing. But so
I
tell
wanted
us.
to say too,
Yeah.
can I like say something about that too, just to
Yeah.
like, before we go on to something else? I was gonna say too, like part of this healing work, just if anyone is on the other side and like listening to us, now that I know so much about like emotions and stress. First of all, I wanted to say too, that as a teacher, I didn't think I was under stress. I was like, I can't be under stress. I don't have kids. So I know other people might relate to just the same, but I was in total fight or flight and, all the things. So that's one thing. But the other thing I wanted just to come back to too, if someone's listening to this, is that, how we say like these loops and I got to make up for lost time. But then I would also just say that honor yourself, right? Like have a cry, talk about this with someone you trust or a coach or therapist, like feel, like it's not like this toxic positivity. I'm sure you know what I'm saying. Like, it's not like, oh, well, you're a coach now. Like, I mean, this is like super traumatic. 16 years of my life kind of robbed from me, I would say, and so much suffering and time and money. And so I just want to validate that, obviously. And I think that's something too. Sometimes when you're on the other side, especially when you heal really quick, maybe there's like grieving that actually needs to happen because you lost part of your life. And like, you can look back and be like, in the time, like, I got to do more, I got to do more. But now on the other side, you're like, oh, poor baby. Like, oh, like I call I'm like baby girl sometimes. I'm like, baby girl, like you went through a lot, you did a lot, you tried, you fought, right? With this compassion. And I think that's like a huge part of this journey too, of like compassion. And
Totally. Yeah.
so
So
I
when I
know
call myself baby girl too.
you
And
do,
I
that's what I do. Like,
do. I'm like, I'm
oh,
here.
I love that one.
But for sure. And
Yeah, when we're
I would love to share also that I went out there and I started doing everything. I moved to the west of Ireland. I started swimming in the sea, which is the west of Ireland, is the wild Atlantic. It's fucking freezing. And I was like, no, you're better now. So even though I was like healing rapidly, I still wasn't in the compassionate, like when you've been hard and fast with yourself and numb with yourself for so long, the results got me so excited, and I'm such an extreme person. I took tested everything to the extreme, but I do that to myself too. I'm like, hey baby girl, wow, like you were like jumping in the Atlantic, splashing around, and then not sleeping, and then getting up bags in your eyes and just going. And I was like, but now I would never do that. I'm like, no, I actually genuinely don't like to be wet and cold. So I would not do that to myself. Like, you can't know, like, what were you doing? But, whatever. Some people are like slow and steady, which is so perfect. And then like whatever way you do it, the change is always going to come from that softening and getting to know yourself and starting to feel what you feel, whether that means not just your emotions, but like that you're cold and you don't like to be cold, or
yeah.
whatever it is just getting to feel again.
Yeah, and I think too, right? I think it's important. There was shame and grief and sadness and guilt and anger and all these things, and then healing fairly quickly. Well, that is all still in the body, like we know, right? So there is work to be done. So yeah, if someone is listening to this and, oh, I should be emotionally all good, right? Because I'm feeling good, just that there's always inner work to be done. And that's why, have you taken breath work yet? Have you tried it?
Oh
Oh,
yeah, tell us about your breath work. So I do, years ago, before I found Mind Body, I trained in Buteyko breathing. And
okay.
people were healing like all kinds of diagnosis with this Buteyko breathing. And it's really intense. Like, it was just too intense. You were like, had to do all these really extreme practices. But now I understand that why people were healing with it is they were increasing the oxygen in their body, which like when you have TMS, you have a mild oxygen deprivation. So
Mhm.
I always get my clients to do some kind of breath work, whatever one they
Oh,
like,
cool.
whatever one, because I love Wim Hof, but some it's like quite kind of dramatic, and so other people like other
Yeah.
ones. But I always tell my clients, it's like taking your oxygen pill. Like, you have a lack of oxygen, so you take your oxygen pill. But so do you do this
Yeah.
also? You practice, or you teach, or what do you do?
Yeah.
Tell
So
me.
I actually teach it. Yeah. I was actually, so when I first started, yeah, I was doing everything in person. That's why I said, like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Oh my gosh, we're going online, right? So I was doing all my breath work. So I found this was like a really good piece of my journey too. It really helped me get to the other side. is breath work is this amazing way, the way I teach it. I mean, it's similar to Wim Hof is more, I think, I don't know, stress relief or kind of optimization, but the breath work that I teach, like our goal or kind of the intention is to like process and release emotions, clear out stress. So it's quite, I mean, it can help clear trauma. So it's quite profound. So I was doing breath work at the very end of all Steve Ozanich's in my life, and this book and healing and all this is possible. And then I start doing breath work. And then what really is helpful is to get out of your head. If you could, I tell people, if you could take a pill, right, and get out of your ego and get out of your head and all the fear and get in your intuition and trust yourself, like, of course, I'd be, creating it, this pill. But I say the next best thing, we don't have it yet, is breath work, because you can really silence the inner critic. And so I would do breath work, and it was this knowing, right? Not thinking and analyzing. It was, which I'm sure you're very good at too. It was this deep intuition knowing that I could do this coaching, right? That I could leave my job, that I don't know have all the answers, but I could do this. And the things that I was worrying about, like, how do I create the social media and the this and the that? I mean, I was just really, you'll figure it out, right? And like this deep inner knowing. So it was quite profound for me. I know breathwork isn't for everyone, but getting rid of the ego kind of like temporarily and like getting that really helped me to kind of move through like that stuck shame I felt, right, for so long, or grief or sadness or anger. Yeah, so it was really helpful. So yeah, I still do breathwork online right now. You can, check my website and see, but it's international. Usually I was doing it every month, and with the holiday season, people are so busy. So hopefully back in February, we'll be starting up. But it's beautiful international community, and my clients come, and anyone who wants to just, pay for the ticket. But it's quite lovely. It's really nice to have a practice, any practice that resonates for you, that you like. I mean, I love your approach too. There's no right way to do this healing. So it's finding what works best for you. And yeah, so just if that sounds interesting for people.
That sounds
That could be a good,
amazing. That sounds totally amazing. I'm
yeah.
gonna come. Send me the link. I am
Awesome.
100%
Yeah.
gonna come to your breath work. It's breath work is so powerful, and it can be hard to like keep up these all these little practices yourself. So having that accountability and that connection with others really, really helps. So I'll leave all the links that you have for anyone
Oh,
to
awesome.
connect with Jeannie, definitely, and to join her breath work. Yeah, that sounds amazing. And I love what you shared as well. It is just about finding what tools you love, like you genuinely love. I got this new like fitness instructor up in the gym, and he was like writing me a program, and he's like, "So what do you hate about the gym? Like what exercises do you not like?" I was like, "Oh, burpees." Like I just started listing off all these things that I don't like. He was like, "Great, I'm just not going to give you anything that you really don't like, because I want you to enjoy coming to the gym." I was like, "Wow, that's exactly how I start my sessions with people." I'm like, here's a list of things, try them out. What do you like? Like, go for it, because yeah, like you don't have to sit around journaling, or you don't have to sit around doing breath work if it's like something that you're going to resent and it's not for you. But find
Mhm.
like that coach or that teacher or that therapist that just like has a little trick up their sleeve that you enjoy, and that's going to essentially be doing this same thing, the same process, which is like getting you out of your head and into your heart, getting you out of being hard and
Yeah.
fast, and softening and compassion and healing. Like for me, and it's so funny actually, because Steve Ozanich says in the beginning of his book, life is relationships, or health is relationships, or something. It's like his statement. But for me, this whole healing process is more about relationships for me than anything, because I started to heal the relationship with myself. And as I did that, all the relationships around me started to shift and change. And I always tell my clients, like, sometimes when, things aren't working and I'm feeling stressed and whatever, and I'm like, what's even going on? Do I even know what I'm up to? Like, what is this? What's happening? I just look to my relationships. For me, this is how it is for me. Our journeys are all different. And me and my baby brother, like, we just have never been so tender and gentle with ourselves. And
Mhm.
my parents, like, we had our Christmas just gone, and like
Uh-huh.
I'm living with my parents, like, and not one blowout or big, fight. So for me, it's all been about relationships, and that can look any way, like healing relationships, it can look like maybe you never see someone again. Like it just looks different for everyone, but for me it's just meant that the people I really wanted to feel that tenderness and that closeness with, it came, but it all came from me. It all came from me healing and becoming tender and kind and under and really like seeing myself in a loving way. So now when I see someone else do something where I want to like react like fuck them or whatever, because I know myself doing that action also, and I have kindness for myself. I don't know if this is making sense to anyone. Anyway, because I can hold space for myself and see all parts of myself, then I can more accept
Yeah.
like all parts of other people. And that makes life, just my day-to-day life, so much less stressful. And I feel so much more held in the world. And that makes me feel safer in the world and safer in my body. So
Yeah, I was going to say too, just hearing you talk about that with relationships. I know some people, I get it, right? They come to us, they just want to get out of pain, right? What's your goal? Out of pain. But I think what's interesting about, I mean, I love seeing your posts, just fun and living your life. And that is just so, so, so inspiring, and all the travel and just you being you, right? I love how you just share so authentically. I think for some people, this work might be scary because yes, we want you out of pain, but there are parts of your life that might need tending to, like you said, like relationships that need tending to. People come to me, a lot because they hear my story of like, this job I was not right and how scared I was. So a lot of people are like, that's me. I want to leave my job. I'm terrified. Or, I have a new client, like I don't have like the worthiness to do anything on my own, or not, like go out on her own, or, follow her dreams. And so, yeah, I really want to say, like, if you let it, if you want it, this journey is way more, as you know, this is way more than getting out of physical pain, right? This is like an emotional, could be spiritual for a lot of people, like this huge, it's this journey back to yourself, like you said, and like loving yourself again. I love that you use baby girl too. But also, like you said, relationships with other people, but then it's like you being authentic, right? It's you, if you didn't have fear, like what would you be doing in your life? So that means, yeah, I don't want to live in this city anymore, or this relationship I'm staying because I'm super comfortable. Any relationship, right? I mean, family's different, but maybe it's a friend or romantic relationship, and really getting to your truth. So that could be scary to some people. And that's why it's great to work with a coach through this. Because yeah, it's going to take you getting, I just talked about this recently, like it's going to take you getting a little bit uncomfortable, but that's the growth, right? And TMS is here to like catalyst, as like a huge catalyst for your spiritual or, like big journey, like bigger than what you could even imagine if you let it. Yeah.
amen, sister. I'm like, preach. It's so I always say
Preach.
I always say you get like way more bang for your buck with mind body. You're like, just get me out of pain. And then you're like, whoa, I just like, mended a marriage or changed my job or whatever. Just like if you like
Yes.
take medication, you read the side effects, they're like death or something, it could be, just like really awful. But with the side effects, you come for pain treatment or whatever, and the side effects with the mind body medicine are just like, yeah, so much transformation. But you're 100% right that if you like, even if you started making those shifts in your life without the support, then for sure you could just get worse symptoms or sicker or whatever, because the fear like is real. So that's why, yeah, just having like a container or a person that can support you with those specific shifts and those specific fears is where like the real breakthroughs happen. And so we're coming up to time, but clearly we could like talk forever. So I'm gonna leave all of your links for people to get in touch with you, your breath work, your coaching, and your all your Instagram and everything like that. And if there's anything else specific that you want to share with people, or for that you offer or anything, if you want to let everyone know.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. So definitely come hang out with me on Instagram, Jeannie Kulwin Coaching. And I know you'll have the link. And then I also wanted to say too, that if the breath work sounds interesting to you, well, first of all, it's always recorded. So once I start doing those live, if you're in a time zone and you can't come live, there's a recording. But if you want immediate access, because you're excited, which I know you will be, if you go to my website, you can get an immediate access for free to a mini breathwork session. And I've got great feedback about that. It's mini. I walk you through everything. There's 2 videos that talk about the technique, and the theme is worthiness and confidence. So it's a great place to start. And yeah, just see if you like it. Even if you don't want to do the breath work, there's great coaching the whole time because I'm talking about worthiness and confidence and music. So yeah, just start there. And I've had such a good time chatting with you. I want to thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's been amazing connecting with you, and we'll definitely have future hangs. And anyone who's listening, click those links and get in touch with Jeannie. Breathwork is amazing. I always call it the oxygen pill, and you're calling it the like ego pill. So it's just like you got why would you not
Ego
take it?
eradicator, yeah.
Yeah, the ego eradicator. So why would you not take it? So yeah, you enjoy
Oh,
your
thanks.
day in beautiful LA, and I will be heading off to a friend's house for dinner, and I will, yeah, just sending you loads of love, and we'll talk again.
Okay, bye, Aoife. Thank you.